on in, come on in, like, share, subscribe. We won't speak on it today, you dig? Speak on it, you know where you at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. And if you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. I said, speak on it, you know where you at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. If you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. Come on in.
What's up, everybody? You back for another episode of Speak On It. In this episode, we got the one, the only, Mr. Bring 'em downstairs. Mr. I'm in your motherfucking city, pull up. The originator of the wellness check, Mr. Brisk Cognacs. You know him, you love him, Trent St. James. And as always, you got your host, JoJo the Ryan. JoJo the Ryan's having camera issues, but he's here. You can hear him. We gonna do our thing as usual. Now, this episode is called The Miseducation of the Negro. It's a book by Carter G. Woodson. Now, if you almost 40 and you still want to gangbang, look at your neighbor and say, you miseducated. If your girl getting beat up every day and she's still with you, tell them you need educated. If you gotta buy $40 to get 2 cases of beer so your girl can look at your ball spot another day, look at your neighbor, you need education. And we right here to help those that are miseducated today. So, the first topic on this book. Now, this book is from the 1933, I believe. So the basis of this conversation is to see the lifestyle of the Negro from then to today. How different is it? How the same is it? You know, this book was written all the way back then. So I believe that the topics is pretty much consistent to what we're going through today. Now, the first talking point is the educated Negro looks down on the uneducated Negro. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because you get education in Western education mind way of thought. So if you're thinking like you're the European, you're going to look down on the uneducated Negro because the European hates the uneducated Negro. So, Trent, why don't you expound on that?
All right. All right. Yeah, well, the Negroes were, the Negroes were, the Negro don't receive an education. You receive a miseducation. One of the biggest things that I believe is that nearly foolish is that you must understand racism, white supremacy, how it works, what it is and how it works. Because everything else that you think that you know about what you think that you know will only confuse you. And so what you are receiving, you are receiving a miseducation. And that's permeated not on just one field, but it's permeated in all people areas of law, of life. Law, war, counter war, sex, entertainment. Through all of the 9 areas of people activity, you are receiving a miseducation. And the biggest thing is that you have to ask yourself for understanding. Because if you don't have clarity and understanding, no matter how much money you have, you only squander it off in time as long as you are devoid of clarity and understanding. And so, that's one of the biggest things that I think that I would, encapsulate inside of really understanding education and miseducation of black people. Negroes or black people or colors or whatever people are choosing to call themselves, whether it's Asiatic, Indian, whatever, Indian, Mozambique, Tanzania, Cape Verdean, whatever Trinidadian, whatever a nigga is choosing to call themselves. Carter G. Woodson essentially in 1933 was talking about the oversight that's given, that's taught to black people or people of African origin, So that's a good start. Yeah, man, I think that's a good start.
What I believe that the man was speaking about when he was saying that the educated Negro looks down on the uneducated Negro is basically when you're thinking on that pattern, you're basically on some I'm better than you, on some you're embarrassing to me, on some I need to get away from you because what you're doing is not right. So basically what you teach you in school, or that the fact that your people aren't going to make it. We are not in the history books. Now, when they're telling you stuff like Egyptians were not black, when they're telling you stuff like white people built everything, and they're not telling you that you have great authors in your race, and they're not telling you that you have I'm sorry. And they're not telling you that you have anything that you can be proud of. How are you going to survive? So basically, they're basically telling you to quit before you even start. They're basically telling you, like, if you're not indoctrinated into Western culture, there is no future for you. But he also speaks on how the uneducated Negro brings more to the plate. The uneducated Negro is the most rich Negro. He's the most revered because they don't bring the thought pattern as the Europeans. So what do you think about that?
Well, again, man, you miseducated. You miseducated, and the Negro in America don't receive an education. Anything that ends with an ION, anything that ends with an ION means that it's a system. You're not receiving an education as a black person, black man, black woman, black whoever. You're not receiving an education. You get an indoctrination, and so you're indoctrinated into systems, ways, customs that are not uniquely your own. Okay, or they say we got echo. Let's see, do we got the echo? Do we got the echo in now? How are we doing this for the echo? How are we doing this for the echo? Anyway, long story short, you're receiving an indoctrination. Inside of the indoctrination, and it's a set of expectations that don't work for you. What they say, every kiss begins with K. Dogs is a man's best friend. A woman's best friend is diamonds or whatever the hell and stuff like that. And all of this is from an aspect of famine, if you will. It's from an access of poverty and not abundance, if you will. And when you start looking at all of these things, you get taught these things and you pick up these ways as a minor, or in your adolescence, you carry these things into adulthood, and you have been indoctrinated into customs, and then these customs, they don't make sense with your African roots, your African origins, or anything, because you as a black person are trying to live your life as a white person. Everything from our medical standards, when they say, okay, well, the average heart rate or the average blood pressure is 120/80. Well, the medical system was really set up and it was designed for middle-aged white men or white men in a mid-30s to early 40s, in order for them to be able to return back to war. Okay, so all of our medical standards are predicated upon white men being just well enough to return back to war. Okay, and so what we call a measure of health in the United States of America is not a measurement of health, it's a measurement of you're good enough to return back to the battlefield. Not you're healed, not you're overcome, not you're well. And so we have we have continued on in this ideal state, which has been a perversion of thoughts. It's been a perversion of things, of treating symptoms that are devoid or absent of curing the root cause. And that's what America has been. That's the way that we have been indoctrinated, and that's the way that we have been miseducated in America, man. Let me go ahead and pass it back over.
All right, the book also speaks of Caucasians seeing other Caucasians in dire straits, and a Caucasian will never let another Caucasian be in dire straits without doing whatever he can to uplift that person. Now we have these educated Negroes that go to these white colleges, and then they see their black people doing bad, and they say things that they're lazy, that they need to do better, and none of that stuff is working out for them. So at the end of the day, you know, how are we ever going to invest into our own society if we're getting Western education and being taught that you know, our culture is a lazy, bad culture? It's a negative culture. So you know, the book also speaks on how the Negro is like a lion in the workplace. When a Negro finally get, you know, good and start doing this thing, you know, he be the most loud, the most boisterous. He be the one to get the friends the most. You know, he buys the best house. He tries to overcompensate because, you know, he was always told that he was nothing. So once he overcompensates, you know, he makes the dominant society jealous, you know, and they'll do whatever it takes to bring them down. But everybody wants to be that black Republican. Everybody wants to be that I'm better than. Everybody wants to be that I'm not those Negroes over there, you know. And I believe that's one of the worst problems when it comes to the miseducation of the Negro is they broke down the unity from the indoctrination from first grade, from when they teach you that Christopher Columbus found America, when they, you know, they just lie from day one. So without these indoctrinations in the Western culture, the Negro might be farther off. They say that the black church is the best place, and this is back then. Remember, this book was in 1933. The black church was the best place to get an education in the thinking methods of a Negro. You know what I mean? Where we weren't indoctrinated into the way that they were thinking. When they were telling you that you were great, you know, you can only learn by your own writings because they don't record it in history.
Well, listen, man, one of the things that I'll say is that, again, that's a miseducation of the Negro. I've heard that like so much over the years. And so one of the biggest things that has been done, and one of the biggest prognosticators that we have been miseducated, is just that itself. You know, many black people have said, okay, they told us Christopher Columbus discovered America, and how did he discover America? Well, I support the white people in saying Christopher Columbus did discover America, because this place of which is now called America is something that took place after the year of 1492. So he discovered America, but the thing that's overlooked is that this place had a name before it was called America. Okay, it was called Turtle Island. And the term America come from the map illustrator Amerigo Vespucci, right? Mm-hmm. So the you know, when they teach you how to think, they indoctrinate you by teaching you how to think. And one of the biggest things that the white society or the power structures that fear is an independent black thinker. Okay, if you are able to think, they breathe that and they beat that out of you, so that you are no longer a threat to the status quo. And this is something that has been perverse, but it's been going on since the beginning of time. And I said, one of the things that I will say is that we, as black people, I'm sorry, and not even as black people, but as America, our nation is built on Catholicism. Roman Catholics. But one of the biggest things that caused the fall of Rome and the fall of European culture, or what caused Western expansion, was that during the Middle Ages of Europe was famished because they did not have a place to grow food that would support them. Most of their grains and things like that, it all came from Africa. It came from Egypt. Before Egypt was a desert, it was flat land. It was fertile, it was fertile land for you to grow crops. Where the hell are you gonna grow crops at in Europe? Most of Europe is hillside, it's rocky. There's no place for you to grow the basics. But that is an example of how we get indoctrination and how we get a miseducation. What if everything that you thought that you knew, you were able to see that you knew nothing at all about everything that you thought that you knew? And that's one of the biggest places where we are led astray as Africans living an American existence, is that we are taught to view things from the mind of a white supremacist. And your thinking, or the thinking of the slave masters or the power that be, and you seeing it from their perspective, is one of the things that has prohibited Black people from getting ahead to be more than just a second or third rate citizen here in the United States, man. I'll pass it back over to you, Ron.
So let me ask you this. We have school systems with young Black children underfunded. They say that their SAT scores and other scores are lower than everybody else's. They say they have ODD, ADD. They try to kill us with medications. But really, we don't have any proof of what ODD and ADD is. There is no threshold that we can match wits with somebody else and say, this is ODD, this is ADD. It seems like they're trying to make money off of our community. Do you believe that has another strike on our miseducation? Do you believe that we can go farther when they're giving us Ritalin? They're separating us from our greatness when they're telling us that our levels of scores are so much lower than everybody else, but yet you're not giving us funding to get books. You're not giving us teachers that care. You're putting us in communities that are labeled ghetto, that are labeled dangerous. You know what I mean? You won't even let us move around to other places to get low housing. So do you believe that has a place in our miseducation for our youth today?
Definitely it has a place. I mean, I'm gonna take my time with this if I could.
Yeah, please do.
And I'm gonna try to break this down to the best of my capabilities, right? So pretty much when the way that you are led astray, if you will, is that you have, let me get this, let me make sure that I'm getting this right. Okay, you have all of these tests that you have African students being measured by, but yet these aren't a measure of intelligence. These are measures of codified language. And so as a black person, we just have our own culture inside of a existing culture. You can't tell a Black kid, go fetch a pail. That shit don't translate to the average Black kid. But if you told that same Black kid, go get me a bucket, he will be able to go and get you a bucket. A lot of people don't know what the hell a sofa is. What's the difference between a sofa, a love seat? As a Black person, we call it a couch. That encompasses the love seat and the sofa. It's a couch. That's it. That's all. We don't, and so when you start getting into the specification of these different languages, that is a method of confusion. Okay. Same example. A yak, a buffalo, a cow, and a bull are all from the bovine animal species or animal family. And basically, depending on what your geographics are in the world, determines what you call this animal that basically consists of the same matter and mass. Okay. However, where they lose us in the codification is, if I'm in Europe, I might call it a yak. If I'm in North America, if I'm, in super North America, up like in Dakota, it might be a bull, it might be a buffalo. If I live more in farmland, it's a cow. But they change up the coding of the message, and then they say, okay, you do not grasp the message. Well, it was not translated for my understanding. And where we get lost is in the translation of the understanding of what's being said. And so when you say that it's a miseducation, of course it's a miseducation, because it was not understood why it was that this was happening. When we see Black people going to get what they call a higher education, why is it called that? Okay, you as a Black person, you are in tune with the universe. Okay, you go to get a higher education to understand, how do I relate to the world that is out there? The forest, the trees, the sky, the rain, the moon, the stars. Your understanding of these elements is morphed into what's called a higher education, which gives you a better understanding of the world out there, therefore making it be a university. University. You are getting a better understanding of the universe, therefore a higher education. A calculus, an understanding of calculus means, how do I calculate my distance to the cosmos, to the stars that align with me? Okay? You move in synchronicity with the universe. You as a human, you have a chamber called your lungs that inhales oxygen and exhales carbon monoxide. Through the process of photosynthesis, the trees, the grass, everything like that inhales carbon monoxide and outputs oxygen. So it's a symbiotic relationship between yourself and the universe, therefore making you get an understanding from a university. But when Black people, they give us a few schools, they call them HBCUs. And at the HBCUs, all that you really see is a bunch of Black people pretending to be Black aristocracy. And this pseudo bullshit Black aristocracy comes in the form of fraternities and sororities. Okay. And so what they get taught at these HBCUs, you have a campus full of niggas who submerge themselves in Greek culture. And in submerging themselves in Greek culture, they get initiated into the sororities and the fraternities. Okay, now the initiation process is called crossing the burning sands. Okay, but there's no sand in Europe, but it's called Greek culture. Greek is the southernmost part of Europe, touching the Mediterranean Sea. And so what you're talking about the pilgrimages, or you're talking about the casting out of Africa that had the mystery school the mystery teaching, or they call it the hieroglyphs, but they had temples throughout Egypt, which people would go to get a better understanding of the universe, a 360-degree understanding of the universe. That's why people go to school to get a degree, meaning you only know part of the whole. This is the beginning of the miseducation. You go to school to get a degree. You're learning 30%, or you're learning 1/12 of what it is that you need to know to be sufficient in anything that you are to do, right? Now, to go back to the fraternities and the sororities, okay, there were many people that were cast out of what they would write and transcribe as the African mystery school teachings. When these people were casted out of Africa, they were cast into Rome. Rome was started by two dogs named Romulus and Remus. These are the people, this is the folklore of what Rome is created after, or Greek culture, if we will. They would cross the burning sands of Egypt or of the Middle East to go into Southern Europe, because they were cast out of Africa. They were cast out of complete knowledge, universal knowledge, into barbarianism and miseducation, which is what Western civilization is miseducation. Because in order for you to be coming from Europe, you had to be miseducated in the first place. Period. You had to be miseducated. You don't get to America if everything in Europe was peachy keen as they would say that it is, right? But that is an example of how we are miseducated and where the miseducation starts. So what's your thoughts on it, Ron?
I appreciate what you said very much, and it's very deep. But we about to go into this commercial break real quick, and then we're going to come back and speak on that, because you was dropping it with the Greek society and all of that. So we about to listen to this song. This song is called Miles on My Puma. First is my brother Animal, then it's Rome the Great, then it's B Magic. So I hope y'all enjoy it.
I got niggas with niggas, shooters with shooters. Better watch the way you comment, I don't play on computers. I don't care about rumors going back and forth with a loser. Then it's put some mouths on your pumas. Put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. Better check my reputation, how I get down with a Ruger. I'll put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. You better watch the way you comment, I don't play on computers. I'm not one of them niggas, play with me if you wanna. If I can't get to you, my brother, making sure you a goner. If I have to sick him on you, then you need a blood donor. It's hard to get rid of him, just like the smell of aroma. I don't care if you crazy or a manic depressant. We was out here 12 or 13 years old handling weapons. So imagine one of y'all trying to send Daniel to heaven. The only niggas that's gonna cover y'all is Channel 11. You can either bow down or wear a vest while you crawl. Eating short through a tube be your daily regimen, dog. We rolling deep with them sticks. Cougars. We don't fuck with revolvers. Man, got a speech impediment, a stuttering problem. That means Gigi get back before you Gigi get clapped. You Ninja Turtle ass niggas, I don't follow no rap. If you a bitch ass nigga, better stay in your place. Don't say nothing on the net that you wouldn't say to my face. I got niggas and niggas, shooters and shooters. Better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers. I don't care about rumors going back and forth with a loser. Then it's put some mouths on your pumas. Put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. Better check my reputation. How I get down with a Ruger. I'll put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. You better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers.
Yeah, mouths on my pumas, connect direct to consumers. Pull your foul like computers, you're getting cut like a tumor. Voice spread like a rumor, your bitch get hit like a newer. I'm the shit like manure, you try to slander, I sue you. Try to rhyme and I chew you. I'm a vet, no sweat, got commander maneuvers. I never lost to a loser. Getting low like a sewer, getting dough, hallelujah. Gotta make this shit clear, you gonna know how to do ya. And I get anywhere, I got a phone in the Uber. Come equipped with a Ruger, let it blow, I'ma do ya. And I'm so old school, blowing dro on a scooter. Roam the great, don't hate it, take a king to go rule ya. Money long like a ruler, wearing spikes like a Cooper. Split stripes like a trooper, high as a kite, I just might take flight in the future. Put some mouths on my pumas, put some mouths on my pumas. After that, I'ma school ya.
I got niggas and niggas, shooters and shooters. Better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers. I don't care about rumors going back and forth with a loser. Then it's put some mouths on your pumas. Put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. Better check my reputation. How I get down with a Ruger. I'll put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. You better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers.
Killers with killers, I got shooters with shooters. I got cookies from cookies, I got some blue in my Buddha. Bitch, move like I'm Luda. Oh, I'm cooler than cooler. Pour a zip in my Sprite, I keep a few in the cooler. Yeah, I muted your music, I don't fool with the losers. Fuck the internet thugger, I never move with computers. Magic abusing abuser, imagine losing to losers. You get to steal through your front, like I'm looting with looters. Magic to sneak up and bust, for what you think in the cup. Heard you resigning the Giannis, that's how I keep it a buck. Fuck your people then, bruh. Let them leak in the truck. Don't take a bite out of crime, then try to speak to McRuff. Ain't no secret with us. Bitch, we reach it, we clutch. Break a leg, rip. Back if a sneaker gets stuck. Spill a liter of blood. Pick your teeth and sis up. Nobody scream orgasm, that's a reason to bust.
I got niggas and niggas, shooters and shooters. Better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers. I don't care about rumors going back and forth with a loser. Then it's put some mouths on your pumas. Put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. Better check my reputation. How I get down with a Ruger. I'll put some mouths on your pumas. Mouths on your pumas. You better watch the way you comment. I don't play on computers.
All right, we back. That was Mouths on Your Pumas by Rome the Great. Please say the great. Please check me out on all major platforms. So what you were saying, Trent, when you were saying that the white people were indoctrinated into a Greek culture, and I believe I can expound a little bit on that because the Greek culture had came to Egypt to conquer Egypt when the Egyptians had the Meta Nature, and the Meta Nature was telling you everything, every secret of life, basically medicine, how to bury the dead, alchemy. And the Greeks are the ones that are trying to break that and say they can actually read the hieroglyphics when you really can't find anybody who has that ancient knowledge to be able to read that. But so when you're dealing with that, then you're also dealing with secret societies, because you know when you're dealing with you know, Freemasons and stuff like that, it's all about ancient mysteries. It's all about mystery science, the Hiram Labith thing. You know, everything is about I know the secrets to build this and you don't, and if you need to reach this level of education, or you have to reach this level of enlightenedness to reach this level. So I definitely do agree, you know, they've been miseducated from the door, because the education that you're lacking, you're not getting. You need to go to the source, and the source is black people, the source is Africans, and they're going to the people who are trying to rip off the Africans for the knowledge. But let me ask you this. The thing that irritates me the most, you know, about this miseducation of Negro thing, it's not even about the book. You know, we got this culture, and I speak about it a lot on my show. I speak about this culture. We got this culture that tells us that we have to be the toughest guy in the room. We have to be the most ignorant. If somebody says something foolish to us, we need to do something more foolish, and we praise each other for that. But yet, you know, you see the people who are doing this, they're not getting money. You know what I mean? They're living in deplorable conditions. Their life never raises, but yet this is the education that we teach, and this is like a sub-education, you know, that's underneath the reading, writing, and arithmetic, you know. So my main goal is to find a way to break this teaching, this miseducation, this gutter culture that they try to give us. But you know, if you sit and listen to the kids nowadays, the kids don't think learning is cool. Black kids think education is lame, and they say stuff like, we ain't trying to hear that bullshit, Sharif, when, you know, the stuff that we're trying to tell you can benefit your life immensely. You know, what would be something that you can think of that would actually help, you know, break this curse of culture, this curse of miseducation on that level? Can't hear you, bro.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep, you good. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, we have to admit that the public education system has failed us. The public education system was set up for the industrial revolution. Nowadays, we live in the 21st century with Generation Z, and everything is technology based. So our education system is 75 years behind where we are today. The next thing is that there needs to be an independent curriculum that is separate from the public school agenda that's put in place specifically for Black children with Black needs and Black problems. Okay, so we have the language barrier to where they say, okay, it's elective in school to get Spanish, to be taught Spanish. It's an elective in school to be taught Italian, to be taught Greek, to be taught Mandarin, and all of these different languages. You know, when you learn Spanish, then they say that you're bilingual. Well, in order for you to be a Black person in America, you have to be bilingual, because English and the version of English that Black people talk, they're two totally different things. To be able to talk and be functional in the ghettos of America is totally opposite of being able to be able to maneuver in a boardroom. Those are two different versions of English. You have to be bilingual in that pass, okay? And so when you are talking about developing a curriculum, you're talking about developing a curriculum with the proper language for Black children to be able to understand it. And you're also talking about creating a curriculum that is pertinent for a Black child to understand. And so when you look at Black children, one of the biggest things that they are putting money into in the United States is STEM program, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Well, a lot of us fall short in mathematics beyond subtraction, addition, multiplication, and division, because we don't know why this stuff is important to us. But if you were to teach a Black child or a Black person or anybody that, listen, algebra is important because algebra is the language of life. It's the language of growing, and it's the language of understanding. Most of us use algebra on a daily basis. And I would argue to say that if you are black in America and you make it past the age of 21, then you are a mathematical genius, because all the algebra is the search or the quest for what it is that you do not know and how to find the answer for that of which you don't know through the process of deductive reasoning. Or to make it, or to put it in a black colloquialism, you have to go and find a nigga's angle. You have to be, or to use a DJ Tyson word, you got to be able to peep game. That is the science of algebra right there. Look, I peep game, meaning I can use deductive reasoning to tell you why what this person is saying can't be true based on what I know to be true. The science of trigonometry is this tree is 100 feet tall. How at 12 o'clock, how long does the sun cast a shadow on this tree? Well, you're still using the principles of algebra to be able to calculate this. Or another, thing that's important in trigonometry is, hey, if I turn on this water faucet, how long does it take to fill up this swimming pool? So how many of us grew up as black people and your grandmama, your mama, your auntie, somebody say, listen, your ass either need to be in the house or out the house, because you're not going to keep on running in and out the door, letting all my air out or letting all my heat out. Most of us as black people have heard that. Ain't that the same mathematical equation of how, if I turn on this water faucet and it's pouring in 300 liters per hour, and this is a 50-gallon pool, how long is it going to take to fill up the pool? Both of them are rooted in the conservation of precious resources. It's just that trigonometry as an art is geared one way, and your black, the way that a black mind is geared, you may not be able to process it in those terms because those terms don't specifically talk to you in your situation. And so when they say that I don't want to hear that bullshit, Sharif, actually the kids, or that's a young person who has not yet reached their maturity, saying the information that these people are giving to me is not something that I can necessarily relate to because it's not pertinent to my life and what it is. And it goes back to my original argument of language. Hey, me finding out how long it takes for a water faucet to fill a swimming pool, that's not pertinent to my everyday existence as a black person, because, coming up, how we coming up, things are a little bit different now. How many black people grew up with a swimming pool? It's not pertinent to you. You're not biologically connected to the answer that they seek from you. Therefore, it's void of importance. And anybody, America is a corporation. And I don't want to get too deep off into that, but America is a for-profit business. These are facts. And so by us being a free market enterprise, or our currency system being capitalism, at the very root of capitalism is not wasting your time on things that aren't prudent and beneficial to you, and that won't be a productive art for what it is that you're trying to do. There's no corporation in the United States that pours precious resources into something that's unfruitful for them on a year in, year out basis. They may do it for a while, but again, no corporation, no business, no profitable business is going to continue dumping resources into something that's not fruitful. And the education system that we have here is not fruitful. So when you cannot hold the attention of a black mind, it's because you cannot connect with the material that's being expected to be learned. And hopefully that answers your question.
Right, but let me ask you. Let me ask you this on resources. So you have a person who's Caucasian that went to college at Boston University, right? Then you have a person of color that went to Boston University. Now they have the two of the same educations, right? So you're talking about white constructs when it comes to these these Fortune 500 companies. They're not ran by black folks. So my point is why are they going to hire the African American unless they make them? Due to certain programs that are going to make you hire that African American, because we just spoke about how the Caucasian is only going to help the Caucasian when he sees the Caucasian in dire straits, and this is what we don't do it as black people. So at the end of the day, our black people have to procure resources and capital to procure businesses so we can take care of our own like everybody else takes care of our own. Do you believe that that's a problem, or do you believe that's not a problem?
Well, I gotta take it back a little bit, bro. When you're talking about the black person that graduated from Boston University, well, that person is going to be competitive to the white person because the construct of America, it really does not fit you once you get to that point. Because for you to be able to graduate from Boston University, you have overcame the odds at that point. There have been obstacles, gargantuan obstacles, if you will, that were placed in your path to prevent you from being able to obtain that degree. Once you have overcame those obstacles, no, you may not be able to get the same things afforded to you as that same white boy that graduated from that university. As far as, okay, if you go into the workforce and both of you guys have a degree in biochemistry, molecular biology, and chemical engineering, then you are going to be able to get a job at the same corporation that the white guy gets a job at, because that skill set is needed out here in abundance in the world, and you were one of the few to overcome the obstacles. The problem is going to be that once he gets in there, he is going to work there for 6 months, and then he's going to become an executive manager or a mid-level manager, when you're going to have to work there for 5 years, prove yourself before you get to be an assistant manager, and you constantly in the process of proving yourself. But the system is not designed, the system affects you less there, because as a black person, there were so many different things that were put in your path that you had to overcome to even get there, that you did not become a statistic. And to say it more plainly, or as a term that I coined, breaking the shit down on a GED level, it was a time in my life when I was, selling dope. And, you don't expect to hear, prophecy coming from like crazy ass white dudes. But it was a crazy ass white dude, like real hip, kind of stoner dude. And he said, he broke it down to me, and it was profound like this. Listen, you have to be careful moving that shit across the border, getting past border patrol, because when you out here drug smuggling, you got to get lucky every single time you come past border patrol. But the border patrol only has to get lucky once. And that's the difference between the white person and the black person in America, is that when you get to that level of having that degree at Boston University, man, you had to get lucky every single time to get there. The white boy only had to get one thing right to get there because he had access to the resources. But to put something on a grad school level, if you will, he had an upbringing with something that we call fault tolerance to be able to allow him to make many mistakes and still get to where it is that he's ultimately supposed to be in life. And as Black people, we don't have built-in fault tolerance for our journeys in life. You have to get this shit right. As a Black man, you got to be able to dodge the cops, the undercovers, the police. You got baby mama drama, not knocking up the wrong bitch. No child support. Shit, you got to be able to your teachers hate you. You don't got the right resources. Old, outdated books. You don't have the high quality teachers in your schools to be able to teach you how to do things, and you don't really have true mentors. Not the one nigga who he is supposed to get a football scholarship, and now he blew his knee out, and so he come back to the hood. He's preaching to niggas all the time. That's not a real true mentor. A true mentor is somebody who can tell you how to bypass mistakes to get to your path seamlessly with minimum effort. Mm-hmm. We don't have access to those in the Black community.
That's fact. Hey, we could take some calls if anybody want to get their point of view. I mean, my man been teaching, man, right here, kind of deeply. Mods, could you please put the number in the chat? If not, we'll just keep moving along if nobody has an opinion. But so we also, like I said before about resources, we also lack the ability to come back and put money into our own institutions. It's not that we lack or we can't, we just don't. We get an education, we get a better job, we start living like the Joneses, and we never come back to the so-called ghetto, because that's a place that gives us nightmares, and it's a place of atrocities, and we're trying to get out of there. We're trying to move with as many white people as possible, you know what I mean? But by us doing that, we don't make the sacrifices that are necessary to build up our community. Like our people will never be better if we have a few that just make it an escape, like an escape convict or escape slave. They run out, but we never have nobody to come back for the others. You know what I mean? We're always looking down at the others like they're this, they're that, and we don't want to be them. But we have to uplift and build. We need to put money in Black businesses. We need money to circulate in the Black community, and we need to fall along in line and do what everybody else does. You know what I mean? But we're so stuck on these thoughts that we need to be better than those people over there. So I mean, I just really don't understand a path forward until we can come together as a community. And we're also taught to love Hebrews and hate Africans. Why do we hate our African roots so much? I also believe that pan-Africanism would be a great thought and a great place of unity for the Black person of America, because there's people in other countries that are considered Black that you wouldn't consider Black. Like anybody with African descent is considered a Pan-African. Your Dominicans are Pan-Africans, your Brazilians are Pan-Africans. I mean, there's Mexicans that's Pan-Africans, because slavery happened in a whole lot of places other than America. That's what a lot of people don't get. So if we have an idea with everybody who has roots to trace to Africa, and we unite on that force, then imagine what we can get done instead of hating on this sector of people. But I don't know what's your opinion of Pan-Africanism.
My opinion of Pan-Africanism is, I personally, I don't support it. because I mean I'm a nigga from St. Louis, man. I'm from Adelaide and Condy. You know what I'm saying? 1905 East 1, by way of Jennings, Jennings, Missouri. You know what I mean? And so the term pan-Africanism means going back to Africa. Shit, all I know, man, is I know the north side of St. Louis and I know Jennings. I don't know Africa to go back there. You know, most of, you know, I'm 91% Nigerian, but that was shit a long time ago. And so my home country is America. And by me being a Black American, you know, my ancestry traces to America. We weren't immigrated here. When you dealing with white folks can say, okay, I'm Sicilian. Hey, I'm part Italian. I'm Dutch. I'm you know, I'm from Czech. You know, I'm from the Czech Republic. I'm Asian. I'm this. I'm that. Because they can trace their family history back to overseas. As Black people, we could trace our history back to Big Mom. That's what we called them when I was growing up. It's Big Mom. You know, so my culture, I can't tell you what they ate over in Africa. When I go to, you know, African spots and I see how they cook their food, it's not appetizing to me. But when I go with Big Mama house and she got some greens and some sweet potatoes and some sweet potato pie and all that, you know, then that's what I connect with or what have you. So as far as, you know, the Back to Africa movement, you know, I feel like Marcus Garvey and those guys, they tried that, they burned down the ships. And Africa does not want us. That's the way that I personally feel. When you deal with Africans, ones that really come from the diaspora, they interface with Black Americans as though we are beneath them. But the reality of it is that you have this snootiness between continental Africans or first generation African Americans towards us, but it's like, man, fuck y'all motherfuckers didn't come back for us. You know, shit. Listen, we been over here in America. You motherfuckers ain't sent a plane. Y'all ain't sent a boat. You motherfuckers ain't sent a drone. They ain't sent a canoe. They ain't seeing shit. You know, fuck Africa. That's just the way that I feel personally, bro. You know, but I'll leave it back. I'll leave it up to you, big dog.
Yeah, so basically, you know, this whole conversation was about, you know, a man in the 1933 opinion on educated Negroes treating uneducated Negroes like second-class citizens and indoctrinating their mind in Western European thought. And today, I believe that it still stands true to a certain fact, but not as much because so much has changed, you know what I mean, since 1933. But I still believe that you have Western culture indoctrination. I still believe that, you know what I mean, that you're not helpful to your own race until you start thinking like we're all on the same level, that we need to go no man left behind type tip, you know, that we got to go back and save those that are less fortunate and not say Republican talking points like these people are lazy, because if you're saying these people are lazy, you're saying the race that you come from are lazy. And I believe that if you look at history, that we're far from lazy. We're hardworking, good-hearted people, you know what I mean? So I would say that a lot is the same and a lot has changed due to technology, like you had said. But, you know, we're hitting our 1 hour mark. I would like to thank our guests. Trent is one of our best scholars. He's taught so much today. People pay for the information that this man has given. And I just want to tell you that you need to appreciate our greats while they're here. I mean, I am honored that this man graced my show, and I believe that we're better for it. So I want to thank you to Trent, and I also want to say thank you to y'all because I couldn't do it without you.